We're live on Facebook. We're recording. We're on the Insta. We're here. Yes, let's go, baby.
Woo! Welcome everyone to the Property Duo at a slightly later time because your boy, that's me, we're speaking at the PPN Summit. I don't know if any of you saw me there. That was very fun, talking to a screen. There was no faces, so it was good fun. Really interesting though, James. We have 10 people live now. But at 10, we have like 30. It's mad how 1 hour can make such a big difference, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true, man. It's true. I've noticed that as well.
I wonder what it is. Maybe 10 a.m. is just like the duo time, and we fuck it up twice now. So we apologize for the late starting. But
hold on, can we just stop there? Let's take the we out of it. You fucked it up.
Well, there's 2 Indian blokes. We're never going to be on time, are we? Right. So are you going to let people in while I introduce?
Yeah.
So welcome everyone to
ahead.
episode 10. Episode 10. That means 10 weeks we've been in lockdown minimum. I mean, I know we can actually check this factually, but I use this as a barometer for lockdown because I have to see James every Thursday. So today's show is about vulnerability. I'm saying the L, don't know why, I know it's silent, and entitlement. But we've kind of realized just before the show that we've covered a few of these bits before, so we're not going to go into huge detail because we've done it before. What we are going to shift and talk about is mistakes. James personally has made a lot of mistakes in life, and he is really going to take us through these mistakes.
Why do you take so much enjoyment in saying that? Huh?
No, because it shows people you're a veteran. You're scarred. You've been through the battle.
Listen, you're about to get married next year. You're about to make the biggest mistake. Ooh.
I will let Gina know when she sees you.
Don't.
She'll take it up with you. She'll take it up with you.
No.
So on today's episode, we're going to talk about that. But before we talk about that, we give updates into our weeks. Now, we're going to start with a serious message. Okay, I've made notes because I can talk forever on this topic. But you may or may not know that I believe it was last week. George Floyd was murdered. Now, I don't want to hear anyone say he was killed. It was murder. George Floyd is a black man living in America. Now, if you're already a bit lost at what I'm saying, then I think you have a big problem. Racism is something that has been alive since the start of time, all the way back to the Crusades. Everywhere in the world has a form of racism. Now, America, as you may have heard me say many times, is rather a disgusting country for many reasons. I mean, the president is... I'm going to say nothing because there's going to be some bazookas fired. Anyways, it is a systemic and deep-seated issue that has been around for many, many generations. And when you have leadership like Trump, like Boris, who isn't... I mean, I'm not comparing him to Trump, but when you have leadership like this, it kind of feels like it's never going to change as well. Now, I think the death of George Floyd is a particularly, visible one because of the, I believe, rightful response of the black and white and brown and every community in the world to this. Now, this has been happening. If you ever find my personal Facebook, which you'll never find, I'm talking 5-6 years ago, I was posting about the deaths of black men, women, and kids at the hands of white cops. This has been happening, right? So this is not new. If you look at the list of people, it is longer than... It is very, very long. And that's just the cases that are recorded. These are just the cases with evidence. I say evidence, by the way. Most of these cops and these murderers are actually acquitted, meaning they've walked free from these things, despite video evidence of the murder taking place. But I guess this time there's been a change because more people have taken action and more is being done about it. And I'm not going to go into the details of that because, again, I will be here forever and we can talk about who created racism and who created this system that's unjust. But what I kind of want to say is, firstly, don't believe the mainstream media, because what I want you to do is look up Rupert Murdoch, look up the owners of CNN and look at them and just tell me something about them, their histories and who they are. And if it's in their benefit to show the truth or to protect the flag and the country and the system of which they form a very strong part of. So don't just believe the media you see, look at things like Twitter. Because if you look at Twitter, people are showing videos and pictures. Yes, you can fake, pictures and whatnot, but there's a lot of proof out there about what's actually happening, about who's actually looting the stores, about policemen damaging windows and etc. There's a lot of stuff out there. So I want you to have an open mind like you do about anything, like you do before a property trainer. Go and do some fucking due diligence and don't just believe what is put out there. Because, I think we're all pretty smart and we all know that the media lie about pretty much everything. And this is no different. Another kind of thing to say is, like, me and James and other people, we cannot understand. We're two Punjabi men, yeah? We have certain privileges and we have certain handicaps and certain advantages and disadvantages. We cannot understand really what it's like growing up in a world where you could be shot because of the color of your skin, or you don't get a pay rise because of the color of your skin, or you aren't respected in the same way because you're from a certain neighborhood because of the color of your skin. We don't feel that, right? We have privileges and we understand that, and we all have our own privileges. And this is a time to look at your privilege.
Sorry, Tej, I might just want to add something to that. I know you say me and you might not. This morning I did a presentation, and obviously I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and I experienced racism firsthand in school. I had to learn to fight very, very early on, because I went to a school where it was predominantly white. There was probably only about 10 Asians across the whole of the 5-year groups. So I felt it. I felt racism firsthand.
Yeah.
And obviously nowadays it's not there at all. So I get what you're saying. For this generation, it's very minute. But back then, it was, they will heckle everything at you. And, the friends of mine that wore a turban, amount of times their turbans were ripped off on a bus, and just people knocking footballs into their turbans, just the turban falls off. So racism was kind of, it was there, especially when I was growing up.
No, fair enough. I totally respect that. For me, I went to a school where there was 2 white people and hundreds of brown people. So for me, it was probably the total opposite. It was like, oh, is this what England looks like? And obviously it isn't. But it was the total opposite for me. And of course, I know the history of Southall and the places here and what happened when people kind of first came here. So
see, I started high school when you were born, right? 93 you were born.
Yeah.
Yeah, 93, I was in year 7.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So definitely huge generational differences. And look, it still exists today for people of any, discrimination, prejudice for anything, whether it's gender, whether it's the way you all exist today, right? And I guess the main thing I'm trying to say is, like, if you don't know what this experience is like, and even if you do, but you don't know it the same way, like I don't know it the same way James does. Like I haven't experienced what he's experienced. In fact, I don't think anyone's really, from what I can remember, I don't think anyone's actually ever made a racist comment to my face, which is just interesting. Maybe I have a don't look at me, don't talk to me kind of face. Maybe my face is aggressive. I don't know. But I have a different experience to James. So my role is not to, tell James, like I maybe mistakenly did there, and say, you should feel this way. Why aren't you doing this? My job is to say, tell me, let me listen, because I don't understand it. And if you don't understand the community that are affected so strongly by this and have been for the past 100 years because of systemic, deep-seated institutional racism in the UK as well, let's not get it twisted. Yeah, UK police, you're in this as well. Maybe not as prevalent or as bad. Your job is to shut the fuck up and listen. It's to understand, okay? It's to support when you can. It's not to say, oh, all lives matter, blue lives matter. What about the Simpsons? Yellow lives matter. Shut up, yeah? It's not your job to say, oh, but what about this or that? Or, well, actually, technically, if he did, no, shut up. Your job is to listen. If you do not understand it, if you have not grown up in a community like this and have an understanding of how it feels, and I'm not pretending I do, then, your job is to just listen, understand, and support, ask questions, right? Seek out resources to help people who are directly affected by this, because this is not just a Black problem or a color problem or a minority problem. This is a humanity problem. This is a human problem, right? So, and it's been going on for years. So, oh my God, I'm so shocked. Why are you shocked, bruv? This has been happening, okay? Like James said, from the 80s, 90s, it's been going on way before that, right? Justice does not exist in America, in my opinion. Freedom does not exist in the world. And equality, all lives matter, don't matter until Black lives matter first, because that's where the prejudice and the equality is. And yes, there's prejudice and equality on everyone, but this is what we're talking about right now. And this is what the world is talking about right now. So, you have to just understand. And if you can't, and you feel awkward because you're like, I don't understand it, then just speak to your friends. You don't have to post on social media, but become aware of this. That uncle who makes weird comments, that auntie who says, oh, Ted, you're looking a bit dark. You've been in the sun too long. Shut the fuck up, auntie. Yeah? I look good. Yeah? You need to tell these people this is not the way you view things. Yeah? Like, you have to spot this in your own family, because the Asian culture is there's a thing mainly in, I guess, the older generation or backwards people that, oh, if you're lighter, that means like you work inside and you're like more heavenly and all bleach creams and all this bullshit. There's problems in every community against other people or other ways of being. So STFU, listen, support where you can. If you go on Instagram, look at the hashtag, come and speak to me. There's lots of resources and books that people can read that will teach you about this, because it's nice to think about this now when everyone else is and post black squares, but are you thinking about this normally? Are you thinking about the way you're saying stuff, the way you're talking to people? Are you thinking about your privilege? We all have privilege, no matter where we're from or who we are. Are we thinking about it and using it for the greater good? Or are we now vocal because the internet says we should be, and then next week we're back on TikTok shaking your booty? Like, what do you stand for, right? If you don't stand for something, then what's your purpose? So that's what I wanted to kind of say, because we're talking about entitlement and vulnerability today. And actually, I don't think me and James thought about this at all. It does link to what's happening in the world and the entitlement of people who have badges, who are in certain positions. So we all have a responsibility. And I think there's quite a few influencers on Instagram and Facebook who can show you and teach you certain things that you may not know about your own history, about your own, people, your own culture, whatever. So seek these things out, right? Because I think Martin Luther King said it. We remember, we don't remember the words of our enemies, remember the silence of our friends. So just remember, like coronavirus showed you which of your suppliers and your agents and your people you could trust, this now shows you who of your friends have the sensitivity to support certain things and understand it. So please seek out resources and materials. There are plenty out there, and please educate yourself using the real media. Don't be entitled in this sense, because a lot of people are suffering, and we can only do so much, but we should do what we can. Thank you for listening, Church of Tej. James, anything to add?
Wow, that was powerful, man. That was very powerful. I was listening and fully engaged. Just want to add, like you said, I experienced it firsthand, and I know, if it was that bad for me, imagine what it was like for my mum. We lived quite close to the West Ham ground, and there was pubs there. There was supporters coming in every weekend from different areas, and she's told me all kinds of stories of NFs walking about with the big DM boots on, chains, and I know it's a stereotype, but for her, it was very, very scary stuff. And like you say, generational as well. I know I can go back a few generations and look at my grandparents, and they weren't used to seeing a coloured person. And they would come here and they would be quite alarmed if, say a black postman knocked on the door. They would be very, very alarmed. And it was just like, whoa, what the hell's wrong with you, grandma? Chill the hell out, man. Everybody's people here, So it's weird how you say generations are affected and how different generations, even people in your own family, how they perceive it. But I think this is a good time. Like you said, coronavirus has shown who's been a good supplier. I think this is going to show who stands up and says something and who's just on the sideline and who just doesn't give a shit. Yeah.
And Strong Property put a comment on Instagram. Tej, it doesn't take two parents to bring up a child. It takes a community. I agree, but the parents have a much bigger influence. I think it's proven by studies. You can't tell people just to shut up. I can. If people say they're shocked, then surely that opens up communication. So just to make it extra clear, if someone is surprised or whatever, then think about this, yeah? If you have been oppressed by your workplace, You feel that your people, your culture have been oppressed by the world and have been prejudiced against, and someone comes along, oh my God, I never knew this happened. How could this happen in this world? Oh my God, I'm so surprised. You're going to be fucking annoyed because you're like, this has been happening. This is like, we live with this every day. That's how you're going to feel, right? That's how you're going to feel. So I will tell people to shut up. And secondly, I'm focusing on people who, okay, here's a really good example, yeah? I don't know if, James, you remember this or other people. A few weeks ago, there was like a protest by Americans, mainly white Americans, about like they didn't want to do lockdown or something. And so they had their assault rifles in their Jeeps, their hillbilly wagons, and they turned up, I think, Michigan State Capitol, which is like the main office government building, with assault rifles, by the way, with magazines in. They ain't firing blanks. They've got bullets, yeah, right, bullets on their backs. You know, some of them are wearing Kevlar. These lot are ready for war, fam. Like they are literally ready to get they're like SAS out here, right? Call of Duty things. And they're standing there on the steps of Michigan, all white, by the way, with assault rifles. Someone posted this picture and Trump commented at the same time saying to the government of Michigan, you know, Governor of Michigan, these are good people, you know, they just want freedom. Go and speak to them, you know, go and they're nice people. He literally said basically this. Then you got a picture of looting or rioting, uprising, and peaceful protest. And Trump says, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. And, oh, these people are ruining his memory. You know, you're ruining the fucking memory, you fuckface, Trump. But someone posted these parallels, right? And I saw people commenting saying, yeah, but those guys with the assault rifles, they're not looting stores though, are they? Oh, but the whole situation's fucked up. And someone else saying, how is that even comparing? These people are like destroying the town. They were just, and it's like, no, you're missing the point. Do you think that an ethnic minority or a black person or people of color could walk up to a state capitol with assault rifles fully loaded and bulletproof vests and still be standing? Do you think that would happen in America? No,
Oh, no.
It would not. And it's just like, so that is the point that people are missing. So strong property, that's why I'm telling these people to shut the fuck up. They need to be quiet and understand and see that you're looking at, you know, you're looking at one country, two systems based on your color, right? Who's seen the Family Guy thing where he pulls out the shade and he says, it's an interesting picture, I'll share it. I know Family Guy's humor, but it's pretty fucking telling. So when I say shut up, it's to those people who are not understanding that it's two systems in one country based on your skin color. And the evidence is there. Like, just Google, look at the names, look at the pictures, look at the list, go back to Emmett Till. It is there, okay? So that's what I'm saying, strong property, and I'll continue to tell people to shut the fuck up if I want to. Right, so James, let's move on to another form of entitlement. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna let you take the lead on what's the name of the story we're gonna tell. Just be very careful when you tell the story, okay? Because I know what you're
Okay,
like.
so, you know, last week it was Mr. Manchester. This week we have Uncle Eggbert. We've named him Uncle Eggbert for a very, very good reason. We need to cover up names. We need to cover up who this person is because this is a very true story. And it happened to somebody that we know. So it's all about, you know, where somebody thinks they can take advantage of somebody else. And this particular person is a very, very well-known trainer, a very, very well-known coach, and very well...
He's not a train. Is he a trainer?
Well, kind of undercover type trainer.
Undercover trainer, yep.
Yeah, he's an undercover lover.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So Uncle Eggbert has been taking advantage of his power in the industry. Someone who's very, very well respected in the sense that he is you'd call him a property guru, someone who's been doing some big things. I wouldn't say he's a furu because he talks the talk, walks the walk. For those people that don't know what a furu is, it's a fake guru. So you just take the G off, put an F there, and you're a furu. But you know, I would arrange those letters around quite a lot different and call them a Punjabi word. But you know, Tej knows what it is. Anyway, so he's been, you know, started off very nice, like you do, very, very nice, helping a particular person out that we know, you know, really making them understand about different strategies, talking about how they can expand their portfolio. And this person, Uncle Egbert, obviously is a male, and this person they've been helping is a female. So a couple of us couldn't figure out why Uncle Egbert was being so nice, but then kind of the penny drops, doesn't it? Uncle Egbert has got other ideas. You know, he's using his power of being so well known, and his power of being having this great knowledge that he can pass on to people, but he's using it to his advantage. So he's not really helping the person. He's kind of almost helping himself. You know, dirty old sod has seen a young, let's face it, a young, attractive young lady, and he's thought to himself, I've got a hidden motive here. You know, I can offer my services in property, but I'm covering this up because my intentions are actually something else. Now, the person in question is of age, so, you know, they're not young, but had this lady been 13, 14, 15, this would be a serious issue. Not that I'm saying it's not an issue because this person is a lot older, but, you know, how would society have seen it if the person was a lot younger? So what we're talking about is someone abusing their power, you know, abusing their power to get what they want, trying to convince this person that, yeah, I'm going to help you. I've got this lovely course. I can do this. We should meet, you know. And then when the person arranges to meet this when Uncle Egbert arranges to meet this young person, suddenly it's an issue if there's a third party there. So you can see how Uncle Egbert is trying to get them all alone. And God knows what could have happened if this person hadn't realized or reached out even and, you know, been put straight. Because sometimes you would say, okay, oh, why didn't you spot the signs? Why didn't you see that this person was trying to flirt with you or trying to have his dirty old way with you or whatever? Sometimes you get people that wear their heart on their sleeve and they don't see what's happening. They don't see that Uncle Egbert is a dirty pervert. They don't see that Egbert is a, you know, a filth bag, because I'm going to call him a filth bag because that's what he is. Yeah. They come in all shapes and sizes. You know, they dress themselves up in so many nice ways. Outside, they could be that nice going guy who heads off to church or temple on a Sunday, prays to God, does loads of community work. But behind closed doors, he's just a dirt bag, a filth bag, you know? So it's hard to spot this. So what we want to talk about is to bring awareness to this subject. You know, if you feel you are being taken advantage of, you know, you need to stop. You need to try and find out what are the motives. Why? Ask yourself this question. Why would somebody who normally charges thousands and thousands of pounds for mentoring and coaching suddenly be giving it to you for free? Suddenly be giving you 5 hours a day, or call you at odd times of the day, or all kinds of nonsense, or text you, or, you know, turn around and say to you, this is our little secret. No one should know about it. You know, you need to ask yourself, where is the value for them? What is behind all this? You know, you got to be careful, because when you're new in this game, people will take the piss out of you. People will take the advantage of you. You know, if you're wet behind the ears and you're vulnerable, you're in a sad position where there are predators out there, and it's in every kind of walk of life. There's predators out there that will take advantage of you. So you need to spot those telltale signs and be able to identify that, hold on a second, something ain't right here. And I always say, it's always nice to consult with a third party, maybe a member of your family who's standing there in the background and is there and sees what's going on, might see you on the phone calls, might be overhearing what you're talking about. Consult with them, because they might, you know, they might be a lot older than you, and they may have life experience and say, hey, hold on a second. Uncle Egbert is not the kind of uncle you want to be talking to, yeah? Uncle Egbert needs a slap. Uncle Egbert needs to be blocked off the phone, and you never need to speak to him again. So just be warned. I'll hand you over to Tej to add to that, because I know he has something to add to that.
Yes.
On the spot, baby!
Uncle Egbert, I think, and what James said there about, you got to think, why are they giving it to me for free? I think you have to be really blunt with yourself and a little bit rude to yourself and say, okay, for example, if you had 50,000 Instagram followers, you were like an influencer, and someone said, I'm going to help you out for free. you can kind of see why, right? And it's maybe a fair exchange of value, because they're saying, fine, it normally costs $5,000, but because you've got 50,000 followers and I can make money and brand awareness off you, I'll give it for free. In that sort of situation, you got to say to yourself, well, I guess I have something they want. So yeah, it makes sense. It's a fair exchange of value, even if they don't say it themselves. But what if you're sort of starting out, you haven't got a brand, or you're not well networked, you're just a random sort of person in property or in a business, and you kind of get approached by someone who's, a big dog, un gran perro, and they say, I want to help you and give you this for free, like James said. Just look at yourself and say, okay, I'm new to this. My current day job offers no value in this scenario or to the person. They don't give stuff away for free. They obviously talk about how they don't do stuff for free. Why are they helping me? Now, look, don't get me wrong. There's plenty of people out there who will just help you because they're like, you know what? I see myself in you, I see someone who's going to do great things and I just want to help you a little bit. But then it would be in a certain way. I don't think it's often that people just say, yeah, you know what? 12 grand a year mentoring. No, forget about it. Let me just help you from the goodness of my heart. And it's sad to think that that's not the majority of people. But just think to yourself, like James said, what are they getting in return? And if you're racking your brains and you're being really self-critical and you're like, I have no value to add here. I have not, and we should be critical about ourselves like that. Then you got to think, what is the actual motive? And like James made a good point there. Always ask other people for their feedback. Go on, James, you're going to say something?
I would love to call this person out. You know me, Tej. I'd love to call people out, but I just I've got plenty of legal cases against me at the moment. With
I'm clean though, so let's keep it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying to you. But this ain't the first time Uncle Eggbert has. He's done this before.
Allegedly. Just again, let's be very legally allegedly.
So if you've got, say, 2 people that have gone through the same experience with Mr. Burt, there's a chance that there must be quite a few people that he's done this to, or he's regularly doing this to, and he's getting away with it. Because I think having that whole, that whole power, just having that power, who's going to think he's lying? Even if somebody did call him out, he might just say, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't do such a thing like that.
You know what? It's also, this is, I guess, a scary part of the world. It's kind of like a, I don't know. Has anyone? What's that Mark Wahlberg film? All his films are sick. What's that film where he's like he's a killer? That's all of his films. Anyway, he's a sniper, and the government are against him. And there's like a room in a wooden log with like 5 people meeting, and they're evil, and he chucks in pipe bombs. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is, with certain people like this, they have a crew or a social environment around them that's like the old boys club down the golf kind of thing, where it's like, no, Eggbert would never do that. I know his wife, Eggbertina, and she's lovely. She'd never let him do that.
Eggbertina.
I don't know. Eggbert breeds. And like it's when you look at their environment, it's one of those things that can make you feel like it's not true. Like you've had that before where you're like, I swear I saw this. But then 10 people are like, no, that would never happen. You're like, did it happen? You question yourself. And that's what happens with people like this. Because they're in these positions of power, you could scream from the rooftops that this happened. But it's very difficult when they are careful not to keep any proof. And like when you don't have an influence or brand, how are you supposed to then call them out? Because you're in a position where, and this happens in real life to so many people who are survivors of things like this, not victims, survivors. You speak out, industries like, you're chatting shit, who the hell are you, get lost, your reputation is ruined. Despite telling the truth, that person seems better because everyone's like, oh, how could they say that? But so it's very tricky, even knowing the name and all this stuff, to do something about it. So you kind of feel helpless, right? And that kind of goes back to what we first spoke about on this talk. It's like, what do you what do you do? And I think the aim of me and James talking about this is not to gossip or say, oh, this happened. It's to say, how can you stop this happening to you, right? So James, if someone's new in property, as well as doing what we said about thinking, what do I bring to the table? Is there anything else you think people can do to not be vulnerable? Maybe just, and it could be anything, not just to people, but to courses or to builders, or what general tips do you reckon we could share to people not to be vulnerable?
I always say, do a lot of listening and do a lot less talking. So listen, always be listening. Like, you know, yesterday I was on site with some builders and I knew this builder was talking so much shit. And I just didn't have the energy at 7 o'clock in the evening to say anything to him. So I'm just there nodding. He's trying to convince me that you can still put smoke alarms in rooms in a HMO with batteries. And I'm like, you know, why do you need wires anyway? So I would say do a lot of thinking. Sorry, do a lot of listening. Do a lot of listening and pick up what people are saying. Now, in terms of these people that are predators that are out there doing this, you know, I think it's quite easy to see, or maybe it's not so easy to see because they form such a trust. But normally, a guy will know when a girl's trying to flirt with him, or a bloke, or, you know, a girl will know when a guy's trying to make a pass at her or a dodgy kind of move at her. So I think, no, sometimes you can be blinded by the passes that are making because you're thinking, no, he's just helping me. So they're using that to their advantage. They might, you know, like in the example of Eggbert, you might be thinking, oh man, he's really providing me some value and really helping me. He's so nice. So he's automatically put that barrier in front of you where you're thinking, no, he wouldn't do this to me. So even when you are questioning it, you're still thinking to yourself, no, Mr. Bert is the one, man. He's a good guy. He's there. He's got my back. Whereas Bert's there behind the door going, I'm going to have my dirty way with you, you know, or whatever, you know. Wow. It's a serious topic, but there needs to be a bit of humor on it because, you know, it'll eat us all up. So I think
very vivid imagery.
Yeah, I think you need, you know, you can tell. I think there will be telltale signs, yeah? Unless you're really, really young and you're just oblivious and you don't know what's going on, I think there are telltale signs. And also, you know what? Talk to your family, man. If you're new in this game, talk to your family because you know, I know when you're young or you're an entrepreneur, you think, now, what's my mum know? What's my dad know? They're talking a load of shit, you know? But when you get to my age, you think back and you think, you know what? My mum was so right, man. Here's me gunning her off thinking, she's talking shit. But she had it sewn up. She knew exactly what she's talking about. And I still find to this day, if I go speak to my wife or my mum about a certain issue I'm having or a problem, they are very, very clued up on that situation. And I would say to you, if you ever feel vulnerable, if you ever feel scared, you know, reach out to someone, go speak to someone, because you can't be letting that shit sit there in your head and it starts eating you up. And then before you know it, you've gone from being this lovely person, this lovely outgoing person, to being this timid little thing because you're so worried what might happen if you tell on this person or if you expose Eggbert, you know. I personally think Eggbert needs to be catfished. And I think there's two men for the job. One wears a yellow tee and one wears a black tee.
I mean, you know.
Undercover, baby.
Yeah, your mum still rescues you from deals anyway, so big up.
I know. You know, I'm 38 years old, and my mum is there. You know, sometimes I have to take. Wait. Sometimes I have to take my mum along, and I ain't afraid to admit it because she's got a way of speaking to people which might not be the most conventional, but she's got her own method. There's a method to her madness on how she does things. So, and I still ask her things. I still ask her about deals and say, what do you think about this? You know, she generally turns around and says, you're stupid. You know, but do not let it build up. Do not let it keep inside of you.
Yeah, and you know, asking friends or family is important because it's easy to get caught up in. You know, it's like with property trainers. They give you this much value and then it's this much sales, but you're like, oh, they've got to be a good person. They told me how to use Rightmove. And that stuff's really difficult. So they taught me how to use Rightmove, which means they must be a good person. I'm going to buy the course. No, they're adding a little bit of value to take everything, right? So people will do this. And you know what? Like, no matter how smart you are or how persuasive we think we are, someone is always, it's dog eat dog. There's always a bigger fish. Someone is always better than you at conversation, at resisting. You know, if an SAS interrogator came into this room, no matter how hard me and James might think mentally we are, we're broken. We're telling him everything. We're giving the state secrets away. We are not keeping any. We're done for. Yeah, we're done for. If it's so, there's always someone who is going to be persuasive and charming and elegant and say the right things and do the right thing, who will take advantage. By the way, this doesn't just apply to trainers, because if you look at well, I guess this person is a trainer, but there's certain information on like property tribes of, and I actually met an investor who lost, it was minimum 100 grand. I actually think it was 300 grand on a JV with someone. I met him in Southall, in McDonald's actually. I don't need McDonald's, but we just met there. And I then discovered who the person was. But multiple people have lost hundreds of thousands of pounds to this person because they would have come across as, done all the figures, done all my due diligence, everything's out there, everything's checked. No, don't worry about it. Have another drink. That persuasiveness meant that these people lost money because they had first charges and security, but they still got fucked because of a certain way he handled it, because of the persuasion of, don't worry about that clause. We're never going to use that. Oh, come on. We have fun, you know? So there's people who are going to be like that. I mean, look at any TV show. Who's seen Money Heist? Who's seen Power? Who's seen Prison? Any of these shows, these people exist. Like, these manipulators exist in real life. This is not just totally made up, you know? So you're going to experience people like this. So then, James, you know,
what's it called? It's called NLP, isn't it? Where they can.
It's a part of it, yeah.
Yeah, they can work out how you think, what you might say next, what your emotions are, how you're acting, and you know, there's a big science behind people ripping you off. You know, they're studying you. They're trying to work out what you're like as a person, and you know, their main motive is to get your money out of your pocket and into theirs as quick as possible.
You know how easy it is to make money doing the wrong thing. Like, I've realized from watching people and then looking at how difficult it is for me to, you know, buy these houses and do this kind of stuff. I'm just like, I can understand why people scam and why there's criminals, because how much easier is it to take someone's BMW as opposed to working for it? How much easier is it to pretend to sell a dream? How much easier to just have a conversation and convince someone of something, take their money and you're done, than it is to actually tell the truth and actually add value? So much easier, right? Like, you know, it's something, you know, James, we should do an experiment on, and we should post the results about it, right? And see, and we can show people that it is easy to do. And actually, watch this space. When we're allowed to see people, I've got some parody videos coming, following on from my Lamborghini video. I've actually got a video that, James, you recorded. You remember in that?
In a swanky hotel.
I need to find that video and post that. That is a good one.
In my penthouse.
In the penthouse that it was 9997. I got a discount from £1 million. It was mad. Greenwich Peninsula. Check it out, people. So should we move on to entitlement?
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, again, this is kind of I guess it does kind of link. So it's a brief venture into entitlement, but I'll start by saying this. I think, like, there's a few types of entitlement. There's one which is the naivety, you know, which is, oh, I kind of don't know what I'm doing, and they come across entitled, whether they're asking for stuff or they expect stuff. I think secondly, there's maybe the purposeful lack of intelligence entitlement. And then thirdly, I think there's the least innocent, which is I am entitled because I am, and that's how I am, and that's how I'm going to be. The first one, I think at many points in our lives, not just us two, but everyone has sounded like that, has come across like that, has approached someone like that without knowing. So our aim today is just to maybe highlight how this comes across and how we can all make an effort to sound less entitled, because most of us are probably not, you know, like, I think people in property generally are hustlers and generally are working for every single inch and every single pound. So we're not. but we can sound like it sometimes. So we want to kind of show you how not to be. So James, when was the last time someone messaged you or spoke to you and they sound entitled, and what was the context? Tell me a story.
You know what? Before I go into that story, I just thought of something. So I've been just finished reading 50 Cent's book, Hustle Harder. Yeah. Now he talks about entitlement in that book, and he talks about his own wife. He talks about his ex-wife and his son, who he has, Marquise, who he has a really, really bad relationship with. And he's finally worked out why the relationship is so sour. It's not because he's not been around. He point blank puts it down to entitlement. He goes, because he's busted his ass and made shitloads of money, his ex-wife automatically thinks she's entitled. That entitlement has filtered through the family chain into his son, you know, and his son feels entitled. He feels entitled that he shouldn't have to go out there and hustle. He shouldn't have to go out there and work because his dad's 50 Cent. His dad should be giving him shitloads of money. His dad should be setting him up like this. His ex-wife feels that she should not be working because she's entitled to part of his wealth because she's had a kid with him. And he was talking about, there's a chapter in the book where he talks about the failure of relationships, and he put it down to entitlement. So wanted to just bring that point up to say that, you know, his son felt that he was entitled to have $300 sneakers on his feet all the time. He felt that he was entitled to have the best things in life just because his dad's a rapper. But, you know, 50 being 50, he's quite raw. He just turned around and said, hey, just because you're my son, don't mean you're getting shit. Said the same thing to his wife. You ain't getting nothing from me if you feel that you're entitled. Because he goes, the minute you feel you're entitled to something, you ain't busting a ball for nothing. You ain't busting a gut for nothing. I'll get back to your question. Yeah, I mean, I'm very helpful when people reach out. Yeah, very, very helpful. But then sometimes you have those questions, you know, those ones that are just like, oh man, I want to get into property. Can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? Can you do this? Can you do that? And it's just like, there is no like, hey man, how you doing? I really like your beard. You're looking really nice and young and trim, you know.
You don't want them to lie though, innit? Come on. Like,
well, come on, man. Let's soften the blow. Soften the blow, man, baby.
No,
come
fade's
on,
looking good. Your fade is looking good. I can't really talk, so yeah, it's looking good, man.
No, that's the COVID barber. He struck again last Friday. He's due to hit tomorrow again.
Yep, following government guidelines, of course. Carry on.
Yeah, of course, on a 2-meter Dundee. That's a stick. So anyway, so you know, you have people that will reach out to you, and I'm perfectly happy with helping. But you know what happens, you know, your mailbox will be, I don't know if your mailbox is the same, Ted. It would just be pinging. It's just like ping, 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 ping. And you want to help as many people as you can, but you don't want to help people that feel they're just entitled to it. You know, hey, can you help me with this? Yeah, I can, but come on, make a bit of an effort when you're asking, you know, make a bit of an effort. Just find out who I am. You know, sometimes people just don't even like, they don't even make that effort to go away and research who this person is or what he does. It's just straight bang in there. Like, no, you said once that you'll help anybody out, so I'm here. I'm entitled to this help. And it's just like, oh man, kind of, it's a bit of a circle sometimes, you know. I mean, you spoke about this before, right?
Yeah, I think, like you said, I want to help people and I'm here to help people. But if they don't do the basics of looking at, firstly, if you don't do the basics, okay, let's say I thought someone was in property and I asked them a question and I did no research on them and they gave me an answer and I went and followed it and bought a property, I'm an idiot because I haven't checked that they're qualified to give me this advice. So the fuck? So that's the first thing. Like, you're not helping yourself by not researching them, because if you ask me, ooh, what stock should I invest in? I heard you mention charts and I say, yeah, go buy one of these airlines that's clearly going down. Yeah, I think it's going up. I'm not an idiot. You are, right? So just, you know, you need to do research for yourself. Secondly, I think, like, I want to help people, but yeah, I get messages. I mean, I had one where he sent a link to a property. So never conversation. He only just followed me. So I assume he only just found me. When I say just, like 10 minutes before the message, sent me a message, didn't even say hi, had a Rightmove link and said, what do you think of this property, bro? I was like, restrict account, move inbox.
Hey, listen, that was that one in Southall with the garage, right?
It was 𝙤𝙘𝙘𝙘 TW7.
That's it, yeah, because my mother-in-law told me about that because she missed it at auction.
Well, there we go. Actually, it's down the road for me, so if you want me to go have a look at it. So messages like this, and actually he's messaged you, James, and he's messaged someone else that we know as well. How are they going to help you? Like, here, bro, look at this deal. And I was like, that's a good deal. Thanks. I'll have that. I don't care. I don't invest here. But you got to think, like, why would someone help you? Like, look, we like people we like, and we help people we like. If you just come with the, what do you think of this deal, bro? Oh, thanks for saying bro. That really softens it. Like, oh, that's good. It doesn't make, like, I'm not asking for, hi, how's your mam? How's your foot? How's this? Blah, blah. It's just like a bit of respect on, in the conversation, and a bit of like tact, because I get loads of messages where people are like, hey, Tej, love what you do. You and James are so funny. Blah, 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 blah. By the way, quick question. I listened to this podcast and I listened to it again, and there was this one bit I couldn't, and I'm like, whoa, let's do it. Voice note. What do you want? Let's have a Zoom. Boom. But then there's people who I'm just like, here's my podcast, here's my YouTube. Please consume, because I spent hundreds of hours, I guess. Yeah, hundreds of hours, as are you doing, and putting this content out for free. So go consume it. So, like, I think,
you know what, I had it the other night where a guy said, look, James, I know you work late, so is it possible I can speak to you later in the night, any time, which might be good for you? And I thought that's quite a nice little tactic, because, I'm there after 11 o'clock at night. It's a little bit dead. You're happy to have a conversation. And I thought, you know what? If you're up at that time and you're prepared to work around my time, I'm happy to have a conversation with anyone.
Yeah.
So,
and I think you got to think, like what we said about the being entitled, fair exchange of value. If you're asking James for help, and he's had X many businesses and all this stuff, and you're just starting out in entrepreneurship, naturally, I mean, you may have value to add. Of course, don't get me wrong. We all have value to add. But on paper, James is the one adding the big value to this conversation. Therefore, you need to be more accommodating and put some sauce on it and sweet it up a little bit, because he's the one who's adding the value. Like, he's the one you want to speak to and you want knowledge from, not necessarily the other way. So just remember, like, naturally, there's always one person giving more, and that's fine. That's cool. No one's complaining about that. But if that's not you, like when I speak to like various people in my network who I know are like big dogs, or who are doing things that I'm just like, oh my God, I love this. I'm like, yo, when can you talk? Can I buy you this? For example, one of my solicitors just wrote a JV agreement, 22 pages, by the way. This stuff costs what, $1,000, $2,000? For free, because of the relationship we have. But it's not for free, because me and the person is with, I said to him straight away, listen, I'm going to find out what my sister really likes from his colleagues, and we're going to send loads of shit by Amazon to his office to say thank you, right? But it's things like that. Like, I know who's giving the value, and I'm repaying it as much as I can, because he said, no, I'm doing it for free because you've blah, 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 bought me X amount of business. If you call 50 Cent, you're on his schedule. And James is the 50 Cent of property. I rest my case. Thank you.
Don't, man. Don't go there. Don't go there, man.
So,
come up with some.
So that covers entitlement. Now, we were going to cover mistakes, James, but I say we don't, because that is a big, big topic. We weren't going to cover it. We just made it up like a minute before. Let's save that for next time, because you and I have made countless mistakes in property, in business, and life. I think that is like an hour-long episode. We're going to get into some shit. So let's save that for next time. But what we maybe can do is do some questions.
What about I'll tell you what we haven't done is a quick recap, a COVID recap.
Please, James.
Well, what's happening?
No, please, James, please. You go first, please. Please.
I suppose the biggest one with me is that offer got accepted. So I bought 4 houses last Friday. So I'm proper happy with that. There were 4 houses that I wanted. I did share the figures this morning on the 5 a.m. club. So I did a big presentation on the 5 a.m. club. Bloody hell, loads of people on that 5 a.m. club. I think there's about really 50, 60 people. Very, very good. Mate. Big up D on that one. It's very, very good. So did the figures on that one. It's a really nice cash flowing deal. I'm super excited to get it. And it's all been done through COVID. The viewing was done through COVID. The offers were made through COVID. The solicitors have worked through COVID. So, people talking, saying, oh, I can't do nothing through COVID. You can. Of course you can, man. COVID is a holiday to get yourself sorted. That's what I'm calling it.
Okay, fine. You can call it that. I don't think it is. But any other updates, or is that your major one?
barristers told me that my neighbour doesn't have a case and it is not worth the paper it's written on. So that was some good news, but we'll wait and see how that progresses. Apart from that, all is good in the world. Oh, progress on the HMO. Section 48 served last night by me. I told the tenants, if I wipe off your debt that you owe, will you leave? And all of them have said, yes, we will leave within 10 days. So I'm happy to wipe their debt for them to leave because I'm chasing the agent for the debt anyway. I'm not chasing the tenants. So it worked in my favour.
Very good. And I bet your mom helped you with that. So
she certainly did. She was there butting in and just annoying everyone.
Big up Auntie G. So we got a updates. All rent has been paid again. SA had my biggest payout ever this month. Big up K&G Inspired for managing. My SA, honestly, I'm going to do more SAs. I know I said I wouldn't, but it's so hands off. I do nothing. When you have a good management, I forget I have it. I'm like, oh, invoice came in. That's good. Thanks. Buy to lets. Okay, they're still pretty passive, but there's still a bit of back and forth with tenants during Corona, like a couple of texts. But my SA is just silent. It's like the kid that never speaks. It just produces. It's incredible. So that's good. All rent being paid in full. So
you know what? SA has never appealed to me in the past, but recently it's really pricked my ears. And I've got a meeting with, you probably know Tally, don't you? Tally, who's the SA guy.
Birmingham,
Yeah. So I'm kind of having a meeting with him because I think there's room there. Like you say, it's purely for the cash flow. And if you can get it fully managed hands off, I think it's something nice, mate. It's I used to think, I'm not interested in this. But now I'm thinking, wow, if you can get a set of them working nicely for you, James is suddenly interested.
I mean, you buy HMOs, so I guess this level of cash flow is nothing new for you. But for me, getting 2 times a buy to let is, I mean, from one buy to, and you get to design like an awesome space. Again, you're used to it, but I'm not used to furnishing stuff.
How happy did you feel on a scale of 1 to 10 when you saw the payout on that SA?
For once in my life, it was pretty freaking happy in property. I was like, finally. Did
you bust a move?
Yeah, Mom, listen. I did a little dance. Little boogie, a little boogie. And when I saw it in the account, I was like, oh yes, it's mine, secured. So that was good. Otherwise, I'm not buying full houses. My builder disappeared for 4 days. He was doing cardio. I don't know why he's doing cardio. So stick to weights. Walked out. He was obviously listening to the tejtalks podcast because he had headphones in. Didn't hear a car. Car clapped him. And he woke up Sunday morning with swelling on his brain. And they had to sedate him and they couldn't let him out. There's no damage, allegedly. It's just because it was a head injury. They had to keep him sedated for X amount of time. No one could find him. I even messaged his mum on Facebook, like, I'm really worried he doesn't disappear like this on me. Where is he gone? And all his mates. And then finally he texts me and I was like, oh, thank the heavens.
Did you leave him any nasty messages by any chance? Where the fuck are you?
No. And my ego wanted to. My ego was like, if you taken my money and gone to Benidorm, you bastard. But I didn't because I was like, are you okay? Are you all right? Do I have to get the paintbrush and break lockdown and come paint the house myself? But I was ready. I was literally just like, fuck, okay. I can't paint, but I'm gonna fucking learn. I was like, where's YouTube? I was ready. So when he came back, I was literally like, oh, thank God. Honestly, you don't understand how relieved I was. I was like, we can get back to business. So that is good. We have found him. Happy days. There's always some drama. But yeah, refurbs are progressing fine. A few of my properties are now being let out. Someone's moving in Friday and next week and stuff. So some more cash flow is coming in, which would be nice. Otherwise, I'm really bored of lockdown and not seeing humans. I saw Spot the Dave, our friend, in the park the other day at 2 meters distance, which was cool. But yeah, pretty bored. So yeah, on to some questions. If people have questions, let us know. I think there's a few already in here, but chuck it in the chat and we'll get you on or we'll ask it. Strong Property James says, I would so love to sit down and chat with the both of you. So wonderful. You guys are great. Thank you so much. It's James. He carries this. I'm just a spectator, really. It's all James. It's all Kamez. Thank you, Strong Property. I appreciate that. Let's have a look. Everyone's just laughing. I don't know what they're laughing at because it's out of sync, but I'm sure we said something funny. Can we have a meeting about SA next Thursday? Oh, maybe. Yeah. I mean, I'm not an expert on essay, neither is James, but we can have a chat. Anyone have any questions? Put it in the chat. There's one from James Holland on Zoom who says, I won't impersonate your accent, James, even though I'd love to. How do you think the Stoics would think about this? Ooh, you know what? That was back at the beginning. I think the Stoics were... I haven't read much about their views on wars, but I think they were very realistic. You know how some people take, maybe it's like a religious thing as well. You take these beliefs and these thoughts and you make them into like being a pacifist. And it's like, no, we don't fight. We do peaceful protests. We do all this stuff like Mahatma Gandhi, all this stuff. I think the Stoics were a bit more realistic, and they were like, look, if you need the sword, then you need the sword. Like, yes, try and do it peacefully, try and solve it, like, you know, with the pen. But I think that they would probably say there comes a point, because, you know, Marcus was a ruler of Rome. He would have ordered people's deaths and he would have been fighting and been a commander. So I think they're very much, you use the pen to the point that you can. And when you really, really can't, you then pick up a sword. And so I don't really know what the Stoics would have done. I don't think I would agree with them. I think there's a point in anyone's life where you're done with peace and you're done with just trying to be better and you're done with just stay quiet and sort of make noise. But then sometimes you have to, right? Because sometimes, it might sound like Malcolm X now, but sometimes the only way to get stuff done is to take action, like an action that people don't want to take or don't want to talk about. And that applies to property, right? Like if someone, I had a story, actually, interesting one. One of my investors is a deal sourcer, and he had a deal, and there's one of his investors knows another deal sourcer, and this other deal sourcer was chatting shit about him, basically, and saying, oh, I wouldn't go to them. They took the deal off us, or they're a bit unscrupulous, blah, blah, when it's not true. What do you do in that situation? Do you just be a Stoic and say, or traditional Stoic and say, okay, I'm gonna deal with it? Or do you send us a very stern legal email and say, you're bordering on something here you don't want to border on, I suggest you stop? I think there's always a point where, the pen stops, I believe. James, any thoughts?
No, I think you summed that up quite well.
Perfect. Amadip says, obviously you need to be careful from a legal standpoint in terms of Uncle Egbert and Egbertina, but people like that need to be called out. The whole property training mentoring game is shady enough. We definitely don't need stuff like this. James, what did you talk about this morning on the 5 a.m. club? You mentioned something about that, right? Or you're doing something.
Yeah, no, I spoke about it because, funny enough, I was speaking to somebody who is on a mentorship program, quite an expensive mentorship program, and their response was, I have left the mentorship program because I get more value from the 1 hour I spend with you guys on a Thursday. I was like, wow, you actually feel you're getting more value than a structured mentorship program. So this morning, one of the things we touched upon is, me and Tej both work with investors on our deals. So I went into some in-depth on my investor side, where we were looking for investors on projects. And also something that we are seriously considering somewhere down the line is a mentoring and a mentorship program, purely because of the amount of people that are asking for it. Every single week that we do something, every week that we put something out, we are getting requests for, do you do an in-depth mentorship program, or do you do an in-depth kind of a support type thing? So something I am looking into, and I believe it's something we may look at in a few months' time, or even 6 months' time. Or
never. It's very much a maybe. It's very much a maybe. We want to help people, but of course with time comes a cost of time. So everyone on Instagram Live, this live is about to end in 7 seconds. So we shall see you next Thursday at 10 a.m. because I'm not going to mess around with the timing anymore. And to James, I think anyone on the podcast, we've got all questions are covered, I believe. So should we round it off? It off? Thank you very much, everyone, for listening to this week's episode. If you haven't already, please leave us a review. You can do so on Apple, iTunes, or on the Facebook pages for the tejtalks podcast. And J2 Hub has a Facebook page.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. So you can leave us reviews there. Please do. We really love it. And thank you for sticking with us as we talk through topics that are not property, because it's important to cover such topics and use our platform effectively to convey messages to you. If you have any questions about the topics discussed today, or you've been affected by them, I sound like at the end of Channel 4 when they say the helpline, contact us. We're happy to help. We're happy to speak. And thank you so much to everyone who joined us on Zoom, in particular. OGs, day one fans, people, day one fans.
Just to add to that, Tej was, we were saying that we're going to talk about mistakes next week. I think that will be a very, very good podcast, because this morning, everybody loved the fight at the 5 a.m. club. I went into depth on some serious mistakes that I've made from the age of 7 years old to the age of 38 and still making mistakes. So I think you want to tune into that, because I will go into some serious in depth and tell you how those mistakes have shaped me, how those mistakes have changed me, and how those mistakes haven't restricted me from growing and, producing an even bigger and better business. So yeah, next week we're going to drop some serious fire back to our normal time of 10 a.m. And we're not calling any shots on people next week, are we? It's going to be a nice one.
We're calling shots on ourselves for the mistakes we've made.
Oh!
So it's turned around on us. Right. Goodbye, everyone.
See you later.